out with the news that's taken us all by surprise this afternoon and may or may not explain the delay. Louis Rees-Zammit has announced he's joining the NFL on a player pathway with the hope of joining a squad one day. When did you learn of the news and what's your reaction?
Learned of about an hour ago. Yeah, so spoke to Louis, about probably half an hour ago. So yeah, it was.
So it does explain.
Yeah, a little bit of a shock to it. Gloucester had contacted. I spoke to George Skivington about 12 o'clock. Things have happened pretty quickly in the last sort of 24 hours. Louis rang and said, look, he'd had an approach on Sunday to go and do a training camp with the NFL. It's something that he's always dreamed of having an opportunity to do. He slept on it on Monday, went to Gloucester, didn't really think too much of it, whether it would go ahead. Was told by his lawyers not to say anything to anyone. And pretty much the paperwork has been agreed and signed, and Gloucester have agreed to release him in the last couple of hours. So he rang me to let me know, to give me that information, just to say thanks very much for his time in the World Cup and how much he enjoyed it and what has happened for him with Welsh rugby. He said he's 22. He's always dreamed of potentially playing in the NFL. He's always been a huge fan of it, and he feels that if he doesn't take that opportunity now, then it might not happen for him in the future. So I just wished him all the best, and we've always been a great believer in players taking sort of the opportunities that could get presented for them and those sort of chances. And said, look, if it doesn't work out for you, what are your next steps? And he said, look, I'll come back to rugby. And so he just feels there's an opportunity for him and a time for him to do that. So there's never a dull moment in Welsh rugby, and this is this was thrown to us in the last. I think Gloucester are in exactly the same boat as us. They've only just basically found out about it. It's gone to the board and. Speaking to George Skivington, so he was having a meeting with the players at 12 for them to get that information as well. So it's kind of been a bit of a roller coaster in the last couple of hours. So just from my point of view, I just want to wish Louis all the best, and I honestly believe and I honestly hope it does work out for him. And yeah.
Is it a massive shock? Are you in some way still getting your head around it and where it leads you?
Look, I'm always one of those people that I don't dwell on those things. I don't let it affect me too much. It's kind of like if a player's got an injury or something like that, you just got to move on. And so he's made that decision. Like I said, I want to wish him all the best in terms of him taking that opportunity, like I would with all players, with other coaches as well. Sometimes they get chances and the opportunities to move on and to go somewhere else, and something I've always wanted to do, and I've always been supportive of that. So, if that's been a dream of him as a youngster growing up, always wanting to be part of the NFL or trying to make it in sort of that environment, then it's going to be something personally that if he doesn't take this opportunity, he's always going to regret that. So. I can only just wish him all the best.
I think he's played 1 caps in 3 years. Tells us a lot about how quickly he's risen to become one of Wales' most prominent players. Whilst we're talking about wingers, had you had any conversations with Emmanuel Bailey-Barbosa?
I didn't personally speak to him. Mike Forshaw had a conversation with him, and he had expressed that he wanted to go down the English route. So that's good luck to him for that.
Okay, so we can expect, that's confirmed, we can expect him to see him in an England squad, shouldn't we?
Well, that's up to England. I just hope that if they do select them, that they do stick with him. They've got a lot of depth in terms of the back three position, and we saw that with last year's Six Nations. They selected Ollie Hassel-Collins. He had one game, and then he's been thrown out a bit with the bath. Like the bath, water from the bath. So in terms of Yeah, so look, if he goes down that road, you'd like to think that they would stick with him.
Dale Jenkins named as captain. With Jack injured, did you have a conversation as to whether you wanted to choose a captain just for this Six Nations or something for the term, and have you gone with a view to developing David in the longer term?
I think that's. I think if people look at the squad and look what we're trying to do and develop over the next 3 years, in terms of the youngsters, that was part of the thinking around the World Cup. We've tried to be consistent in that there with the two young captains we selected in terms of Jack Morgan and Dowie Lake. Unfortunately, Dowie's injured at the moment. It's going to be out for the Six Nations. So, again, gone along in terms of that. There's a lot of competition in that second row. But I definitely see him one for the future. I expect in the next 3 or 4 years that time the next World Cup comes around, he's going to be a definite starter, and he's putting a lot of pressure on at the moment. And we're trying to develop a lot of the youngsters within this group over the next 3 or 4 years. If you look at the average age of the squad at the moment is about 25. We want the squad to be in mid to late 20s come the next World Cup, with players who've got 30 or 40, 50 caps behind them, and that's part of the planning and part of the preparation from now.
And just finally, some clarity on other missions. So Dowie's, it's a long-term injury. Faletau, is he likely to come back? And with regards to Thomas Francis, Dylan Lewis and Henry Thomas, what's their situation?
Thomas Francis, we'd had a conversation a number of months ago that when he went to France, that he wasn't going to be initially available for us in the Six Nations. We were comfortable with that. He hasn't retired from international rugby. He'll come back into the reckoning further on. And then with Henry, he hasn't played a lot of rugby recently. And with the Dylan situation, it's just a selection issue at the moment. It's a chance for us to look at developing again a few of those youngsters, Kieran Azarati, Leon Brown, we've got a bit of time for. We want to have a look at Archie Griffin in terms of that. A big thing for us going forward is that mobility of a tight five getting around the park. We need people who can do a job at set piece, but we also need athletes in terms of our tight five and being mobile, and so that's the way the game is at the moment, and we're looking to develop some of those players. Faletau's he's got another calf injury which is going to probably keep him out for the Six Nations.
Thank you.
Warren, how much has Lewis's decision changed your plans? Cameron Winnett's the only fullback name, but you've got 2 or 3 others who can play there.
No, he's not the only fullback name. We've got Kai Evans is there in terms of been playing a lot there at fullback, so we see him as continuing to develop. Tom Rogers, he's played a lot on the wing, but we see his long-term future also at fullback. He's done a good job for us on the wing. But I think long-term his position is going to end up at fullback. He's not probably quick enough internationally as an international winger, even though he's capable of doing a really good job. So we'll get a chance to develop him a little bit in that role, and we'd like to, potentially see that he does get some opportunities at regional level, playing a few more games at fullback as well. So, and Lloyd. We know he can play there, so whether it's looking at him, so we've got lots of options in terms of that. Cam at the moment potentially may not be available for the first couple of games because he's got a jaw injury that needs to be rectified, and that's going to keep him out of contact and stuff. So we're just making sure we've got some cover there at fullback, but we definitely do have options there.
Dav Jenkins, a very young captain at Exeter, and now a very young captain internationally. What is it about him that makes coaches want to put him in these leadership roles?
Oh, I just think that he's the type of guy that comes in, he's a no-nonsense sort of person. He just gets down with his job. He's an incredible professional in terms of, he's normally one of the last out of the gym, works hard, he's diligent in terms of his preparation, spending time on the laptops, looking at trainings, looking at opposition players, opposition teams. And I think he'll come and do a great job by leading by example. Like I said, there's a young group of players that we want to develop. We want I'd spoken to Jack and Dowie in the past, and there's been the same conversation with Dav, is that I think there's a chance for us and those group of youngsters that I think will make up a core of our squad going forward, a chance for them to set some standards, to mould the team around some of the things that they want in terms of setting an example, how they want things to work in terms of expectations and things within the squad. So I'm excited about that, with us going forward and working and developing as a whole group, not just as a team, but also with the staff and coaches as well.
Matt?
Warren, you talk about expectations here. What can you achieve in this tournament?
Well, it's one game at a time. So the first game against Scotland at home is a great game for us. Principality sold out. They will obviously be disappointed with exiting from the World Cup, and for us it's a new start with a group of players. We kept a bit of experience in there. We wanted some continuity in terms of someone like Gareth Davies staying in there. Thought he had a great World Cup. George North, had some conversations with George. I think George can still get to the next World Cup, given his age. His role over the next few years may change. It could end up being someone who's in the 23 or could be a part of a squad. He's well aware of that. I thought that combination with Nick Tompkins and George was excellent during the World Cup. So, so it's in terms of the expectations, look, it's one game at a time, and that's a really, really important game for us, that opening game, that if you can win that game, you can build some confidence from that and angle it away. The second game, I don't think we'll go there with having a huge amount of fear, and then we know we've got a massive challenge in the third game with Ireland away. So good first up game. The next couple of games are going to be a challenge for us. So just one game at a time.
You've been forced to develop this squad a little bit faster than you maybe would have liked. There's a big chunk of uncapped and players going into their first Six Nations in this squad. Would you have liked to have done it maybe a bit slower? No,
I think this is, for us, looking at Wales, looking at us having such a small playing group of players in terms of Tier 1 nations. We've got the smallest playing number group. It's something that we need to plan and look at, how we implement that plan over the next 3 or 4 years, and some of that is about doing it right from the start. I think, despite all the negativity around Welsh rugby, I think there's a lot of positives at the moment, and a lot of positives. Yes, financially there's some challenges, but what I'm seeing is that the financial challenges are meaning that we're seeing youngsters given opportunities at regional level, youngsters that we may not have seen a few years ago, and for me that's a massive positive. I think we're not going to benefit in the short term, but I think in the next 3 or 4 years, those youngsters getting those chances, I think Welsh rugby and definitely the international team will benefit from what's happening in the game at the moment. So despite people talking about the financial challenges, I see it differently. I see it as a real positive and a real chance for us to reset in Welsh rugby. That's going to put us in good stead in the next few years.
Okay. If nobody else has any more questions in the live section, we will leave it there then. Thank you. And